I absolutely love this question. It is such a great example of how algebra has rotted your brain and turned you into someone who just is incapable of problem solving because you think every single problem needs to be solved with algebra. No, you're not getting extra points for writing an equation here. Don't bother. Let's see what the story says, and then let's figure out why it's confusing, and we'll see how the strategies help us get past that confusion. A group of workers in a factory must inspect a total of 150 widgets per shift, and they decide that each of them will inspect the same number of widgets during each shift. When two of the workers were absent from a shift, the remaining workers still had to inspect a total of 150 widgets, but each worker had to inspect an additional 20 widgets. How many workers were in the group originally? So the question is confusing. There's lots of numbers, there's lots of situations flying around, but the question itself, the literal question at the end, is really straightforward. How many workers were in the group originally? These are great opportunities for the guess and check strategy. The problem right now is we have nothing to latch on to. We have no sense of where we're starting from. How do we apply all of the rules that this question is telling us to follow if we have nothing to start from? So what some people do then is, because of school, you think, okay, well, X is what I'm starting from. What is X? Then we build an equation around that X. But if we mess up that equation, then we're just wasting time with a messy situation. So we're better off picking a number and seeing what happens. Because I think just intuitively, our human brains are much better at problem solving. We have numbers instead of variables because we can see those numbers change. So how many workers were in the group originally? Why don't we just say 10? Right? That's a nice number. I can think about tens easily. I can do math with tens easily. There's 150 widgets. 2 people are gone. It just seems like a number that might make sense. So let's see what happens, right? If we started with 10 and there's 150 total widgets and they're going to inspect the same number. So then, okay, 150 divided by 10 means that they're going to do 15 widgets each. Okay? 15 widgets each, right? Simple math there, just literal divisions. 150, 10 people, divided among them, you're going to get 15 each. Okay. Then when 2 of the workers are absent, the remaining workers still had to inspect 150 widgets. So there's still 150, but now we're dividing by 8 because, well, 10 minus the 2 workers is 8 workers left over. I'm going to use a regular old calculator now. 150 divided by 8 is 18.75 widgets per person each. Okay, now they say each worker had to inspect an additional 20 widgets. So did we increase by 20 here? No, we increased by like 3, 4. So no, that didn't work. But we can see the process now, right? I don't need an equation. I can see the process. Now we know 10 is wrong, but let's just pick a new number, right? So let's kind of put that off to the side. We're going to pick a new number and complete the process. Now, this is where you might think, do I need to get a bigger number? Should I go to like 20? Or should I get a smaller number? Should I go to like 5? And if you think it through for a sec, you might be able to make the right call. But if you make the wrong call, you'll kind of quickly figure out that you went the wrong way and be able to adjust. It's not that big of a deal. So I would say I need to go to fewer workers because I want, when 2 people call out sick, I want it to hurt more, right? I want more widgets to be kind of up for grabs, right? So I'm gonna say 5. I'm gonna say 5 because that's, I don't know, just a simple number. And I'm thinking about my 150 and dividing by 5 is easy, right? So let's just see what happens, right? That's 30 widgets each, right? So then 2 people call out sick. So now we have 3 workers and that's 50 widgets each. What do you know? Is that 20 more? Yes. So all the conditions are satisfied. So just how many workers were in the group originally? 5. Done. No equation. No variable necessary here, right? This was really simple. It's an easy real life situation. The problem is what algebra does is it takes real life and turns it into abstract equations. And that just isn't good for us. Our human brain did not evolve in those kinds of circumstances to think through equations. It's great we learn it. It's a great skill. But if we're trying to find the easiest way to understand a story, usually just having a real life story is better. The problem with this situation is we didn't have numbers. We didn't know how many workers there were. But by making it up and guessing it and then checking to see how it goes, we were able to think through each step of the story in a much more intuitive way. Forming an equation is going to be much scarier, and we might form the wrong equation and then spend time solving it and get an incorrect number. So I'd much rather have numbers the whole way through. This is basically still the kind of plug points into equations mentality, except here I'm skipping the equation part entirely. I'm just getting right to the points and giving myself numbers. I love this question. This is hard, but only if you are kind of stuck in your old ways and you refuse to do anything but algebra. If you are open-minded and you're willing to take the risk of just trying a number and see what happens, this actually becomes a very easy question.